أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 107, Surah At-Taubah, ayah number 64 to 74. يحذر المنافقون أن تنزل عليهم سورة تنبئهم بما في قلوبهم. The hypocrites are apprehensive. They are worried, lest a surah be revealed about them, informing them of what is in their hearts. قُلْ, say to them, استهزئوا, mock as you wish. إِنَّ اللَّهَ مُخْرِجٌ مَا تَحْذَرُونَ. Indeed, Allah will expose that which you fear. You worry that what is in your heart will be exposed? Yes, Allah will definitely expose it. يَحْذَرُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ. The hypocrites are apprehensive. The word يحذر is from the root letters ha, dal, ra. Hidr. What does hidr mean? To fear. But it is such fear that makes a person cautious, that makes a person alert, on his guard, that he's very careful, he's always listening, he's always checking, he's always making sure. يحذر المنافقون. The hypocrites are fearful, they are cautious, they're very apprehensive about the future, about their hypocrisy being exposed. And despite this fear, they still persist in their hypocrisy. They still persist in their wrong actions. Generally, when a person is fearful, what should that fear lead him to? Reform. If he's doing something wrong, he should stop it. Isn't it so? If he's not doing something, he should do it. Like if a person is very concerned about his health. For example, if in a particular family, many people are diabetic, and the children are told, you be very careful. If you're not careful, you might get the same disease. You might also become diabetic. So, if a person is always saying, my family, a lot of people are diabetic, I should be careful, but still he's having things that are unhealthy for him, is that fear useful at all? It's not useful. What good is that cautiousness, that alertness, if it doesn't make a difference in a person? يَحْذَرُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ. They're very fearful أَن تُنَزَّلَ عَلَيْهِمْ. That it will be revealed upon them. Upon who? Them has been understood as the believers. Meaning, through the Prophet ﷺ. In other words, that a surah will be revealed, some ayat will be revealed to the Prophet ﷺ and the believers. أَن تُنَزَّلَ عَلَيْهِمْ سُورَةٌ. Secondly, they said that عَلَيْهِمْ, him refers to the hypocrites. And then عَلَيْهِمْ gives the meaning of about them. They fear that a surah will be revealed about them, describing them. Suratun, a surah, تُنَبِّئُهُمْ, that informs them, that informs the believers, بِمَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ, of what is actually in their hearts. What was in their hearts? Nifaq, hypocrisy, kufr, shak, doubt. And on their appearance, what were they showing? Iman. Which is why they would go to the Prophet ﷺ and swear. They would go to the believers and swear in order to please them, in order to satisfy them. But at the same time, they were always very fearful that what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed something about us? Allah says, قُلْ, say to them, istahzi'u, go ahead and mock. What is istihza? Istihza, to mock at someone. But what kind of mockery is this? It is to mock at someone, to laugh at someone on something that they have done which you find khilaf al-aql, which you find, senseless, that does not make any sense. So if a person does something which does not make any sense to you, what does istihza mean? To start laughing at them, to start making fun of them. Isn't it that everybody interprets situations differently? Something could make sense to you, and something could not make sense to you. But at the same time, it could make sense to other people. Isn't it? Because everybody interprets situations, interprets things differently according to their intellect. Everybody has a different perception, a different view. So, قُلْ اسْتَهْزِئُوا, go ahead and mock. Go ahead. Over here, the hypocrites are not being commanded. They're not being given permission This is like a warning. This is like a threat. Keep mocking. Keep mocking. Mock at whatever you wish. Whether it is at the recitation of the Sahaba, or it is their sacrifices, or it is their obedience to the Messenger ﷺ. Go ahead, mock. Inna Allaha, indeed Allah, mukhrijun, He is one who brings out ma tahdarun, what you fear. Mukhrij is from the root letters kha, ra, jim, kharaja. What does kharaja mean? To come out. But mukhrij is one who brings out. One who exposes that which is hidden. So whatever you are hiding in your hearts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to expose it. And you fear that it will be exposed, know that Allah will expose it. The hypocrisy of the hypocrite is exposed. Whatever a person conceals in his heart, eventually it is exposed. So what do we learn from this ayah? That the hypocrites were very fearful. Why? Because a person who is guilty of an offense that he has committed, he is always worried that his crime will be discovered. His crime will come to light. People will find out. He will get caught. Isn't it so? When a person has done something wrong, he's always worried. So, the one who is guilty of a crime, he is always fearful. He is always scared. That what if I get caught? What if it is known that I am the one who did this, or that I have done this wrong thing? And because of this, he is always afraid of people. He is always afraid of people. And to make sure that he is believed in, what does he do? He swears a lot. And he tries to reassure people of his honesty, of his innocence again and again. Which is why we see that the hypocrites would go again and again, swearing to the messenger, the believers, inna ma'akum, whereas in reality they were not believers. The hypocrites, what crimes would they commit? In their private gatherings, they would mock at the Prophet ﷺ, and they would also mock at the believers. They would hurt him on his face, but at the same time they would also mock behind his back. And at the same time they were worried that the Prophet would be informed about it. And they knew that he was a messenger. Because if you look at it, they were fearful that something would be revealed to him. What does it show? Is it that they didn't know he was a messenger? They knew he was a messenger. Was it that they didn't believe that he was a messenger? Yes, they accepted that he was a messenger. However, knowing and acknowledging something is not enough. Similarly, they were fearful. They were worried. Again, fear alone is not enough. Love alone is not enough. Knowledge alone is not enough. Iblis, does he not know that Allah is a Khaliq? That Allah is the only one who is worthy of worship? Of course he does. But does he worship? No. Does he obey? No. Similarly, the hypocrites, they knew as well. They acknowledged as well. But their knowledge, their fear did not drive them to proper action. So when it is like this, that knowledge does not take a person to action, fear does not motivate a person to right action, that fear, that knowledge are useless. Because sometimes it happens, we are sitting in the class, we listen to the Quran, or sometimes we're listening to the Quran ourselves. And for some time we feel very fearful. We feel very scared. That what if I'm like this? I should have khushu' in my salah. We make promises, we feel a lot. But when it comes to action, we fail over there. Why? Because knowledge alone is not enough. You have to put it to action. If you don't put it to action, that knowledge is useless. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet ﷺ that you tell them. Qul, you tell them that istahzi'u, keep mocking, continue in your sin, Allah will expose your crimes. If you notice, in the previous ayat as well, the hypocrites are not directly addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What has been said over and over again? Qul, you tell them. Alam ya'lamu, do they not know? It's not do you not know. What does it show? What does it show? That when Allah does not even directly address them, He does not even direct an ayah towards them, but rather He tells the Prophet ﷺ to tell them. What does it show? His anger. How He disapproves of their actions. That He does not even talk to them directly. So what is that? That their crimes, their sins will definitely be exposed. And this is the reality. That the person who is guilty, his offense does not remain hidden. His offense, his crime does not remain unknown for long. He may be able to hide it. He may be able to conceal it for some days, maybe even for some years, maybe even for a few decades. However, it cannot remain hidden forever. Allah will expose it in the dunya, and if He does not expose it in the dunya, in the hereafter, it will definitely be exposed. يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرِ. The sara'ir, the secrets, when they will be examined, when they will be brought out and they will be examined. So anything that we do and we try to hide it from people, we try to hide it from those who are around us, we should remember that it will be exposed. The Day of Judgment, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. The Day of Judgment, all of the deeds will be displayed. And they will be observed, not just by us, but even other people. So if we're embarrassed to commit those deeds before people, why don't we remember that on the Day of Judgment they will be exposed? I mentioned to you at the beginning of the surah that the surah is called Al-Fadhiha. What does it mean? Al-Fadhiha. One that humiliates. Fadhiha in particular is one that humiliates. And Al-Kashifa is one that exposes. So this surah is called Fadhiha. Why? Because in it, the crimes of the hypocrites are exposed. They were fearful that their crimes will get exposed. What does Allah say? Go ahead, do whatever you want to do. Don't change your ways. If you want to, go ahead. However, remember that whatever you're doing is going to be exposed. Now these ayah, they were revealed in particular on return from the expedition to Tabuk. When were they revealed? On return from there. On the return journey. And after that. We didn't really learn about the actual battle of Tabuk. We learned about how the Muslims left, why they had to leave, but what happened over there in particular. Does anyone know? What kind of a battle was it? There was no battle. The Muslims went over there, they got to Tabuk, and the Romans, they had changed their mind. And they left. They didn't stay there anymore. But this left a great impact on who? On the Romans as well as the rest of the people, that the Muslims are prepared to fight against external enemies as well. Now just imagine, 30,000 people. 30,000 people. They go for a journey that is 500 plus kilometers. And that journey is extremely difficult. There's drought, lack of resources, and as I mentioned to you, lack of food, that people were eating leaves. The army of the Muslims, it is known as Jaysh al-Usra. The Jaysh, the army which underwent a lot of difficulty. They had to cut open their camels to get water out of their stomachs so that they could drink that in order to survive. This is how difficult that journey was. And they go all the way and they find out no battle. Just imagine, you prepare so much for something. You have spent so much money. The Muslims, they contributed so much of their wealth. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu brought everything. And you find out that whatever you spent your time doing, you're not doing it anymore. The whole plan is cancelled. Now, a person who has done everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is content. Why? Because he knows he was rewarded for everything, inshallah. Because he has done everything for the sake of Allah, whether or not he was able to accomplish the task. But the hypocrite, what is he going to think? The one who is not doing it for the sake of Allah, he is going to think that it was a total waste of his efforts. A total waste of his time, of his energy, of his money. Now definitely the hypocrites were furious. And to Tabuk, it wasn't just the sincere Muslims who had gone. Who else went with them? Even those believers who were reluctant initially. As well as some hypocrites. Abdullah ibn Ubay, he went. Abdullah ibn Ubay, he went. Why? Why did the hypocrites go? To show their honesty, to show their piety, to show their dedication. But obviously they were extremely frustrated because the journey was long, they had spent so much money, they had spent so much time, and at the end, nothing was accomplished according to them. But someone who goes for the sake of Allah, he knows that every step was worth it. Now just imagine, 30,000 people are traveling together. And now they're coming back home. 30,000 people. Would they all be traveling together in rows, in lines? No, it's not possible, especially when you're riding on camels. Just as when people go for Hajj, all of the people are performing Hajj together. Isn't it so? But the people are divided into groups. And groups are also divided into subgroups. Correct? For example, if you go with your group for Hajj, do you stay with all the people all the time? No. For example, for some time you will only be with your family. For some time your family and another family will be together. So similarly, this army as well was divided into groups and many subgroups. But who stays together? People who are like-minded. People who are of the same background. They have the same interests. They have the same habits. They know each other from before. They are friends from before. Such people stay together. Similarly, those people who were sincere in their iman, they stayed with who? The Prophet ﷺ. They stayed close to him. They remained with the righteous people. But on the other hand, they were the hypocrites. Who did they hang out with? Who did they stay with? Those who were like them. Those who were like them. And when people are with like-minded people, what do? Whatever, as a group, they enjoy doing. So, the righteous believers, while they would be engaged in something much more useful, much more beneficial, the hypocrites, when they would be together, they would sit together, they would make fun of the Prophet ﷺ, of the believers. Sometimes they would talk negatively. Sometimes they would go amongst the believers and spread negativity amongst them. They would mock at the efforts of the Muslims, at the sacrifices of the Muslims, and they mocked at them before the battle, on the journey, as well as on the way back, with regards to their contributions, with regard to their efforts. For instance, we learned that before the Muslims left for Tabuk, a believer, he worked all night at a well that was owned by a Jewish man. All night he worked there, and he earned only a handful of dates, and he brought them to the Prophet ﷺ. What did the hypocrites say? That these people are going to conquer the fortresses of Rome with a handful of dates. They mocked at the believers. They spared not a single incident, not a single moment. They always mocked at the believers. We learned Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, during the Battle of Tabuk, a man was sitting in a gathering. And he said, I have never seen like these reciters of ours. Meaning, these people who recite the Qur'an. Because you can imagine 30,000 people traveling together. Obviously, among them, there were people who were reciting the Qur'an a lot. You know, when you're traveling together, some people are reading books, some people are listening to something, some people are watching something, some people are reciting the Qur'an. So, they began mocking at them. And they said, I have never seen like these reciters of ours. They have the hungriest stomachs. They eat so much food. Look at them. The most lying tongues, and are the most cowardice in battle. They're extremely coward in battle. This is how they made fun of the believers. A man was sitting over there as well, in that gathering. He got up and he said, you are lying, and you are a hypocrite, and I will surely inform the messenger of Allah. I'm definitely going to tell him that this is what you said. Now this hypocrite man who had uttered such a statement, he was worried. He was concerned that what if the Prophet ﷺ gets to know about this? And whenever the Prophet ﷺ was informed of something like this, he would always inquire, did you say this? And if you said this, why did you say this? And many times the hypocrites, what would they say? They would lie. Or they would present lame excuses. We were only having fun. We were only having a discussion. We were just, trying to pass the time with some jokes. That's it. So they were worried that we can lie. However, what if Allah reveals concerning us? What if Allah exposes us? However, despite this fear, they would not change their actions. They would not feel bad. They would not seek forgiveness. They would not apologize. This is a characteristic of hypocrisy. That a person sees his error, he sees his mistake, but he does not change himself. He does not apologize. He does not accept his mistake. This is a characteristic of hypocrisy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Muhammad, ayah 29 and 30, that أَمْ حَسِبَ الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ أَن لَّن يُخْرِجَ اللَّهُ أَضْغَانَهُمْ. Do those people in whose hearts is a disease, do they think that Allah would never expose their feelings of hatred? Surah Muhammad, ayah 29 and 30. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do they think that the hatred that they have against the Muslims, it will never be exposed? The hatred they have against Allah, against the Messenger, it will never be exposed? It will be exposed. وَلَوْ نَشَاءُ لَأَرَيْنَاكَهُمْ فَلَعَرَفْتَهُمْ بِسِيمَاهُمْ وَلَتَعْرِفَنَّهُمْ فِي لَحْنِ الْقَوْلِ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ أَعْمَالَكُمْ. And if we willed, we could show them to you, and you would know them by their mark. But you will surely know them by the tone of their speech, and Allah knows your deeds. Allah knows your deeds. So what do we learn? That a person who has done something wrong, who has committed a crime, who is envious of others, who is jealous of others, who holds grudges against them, it will be exposed. Whatever is in his heart, it eventually comes out. How? Sometimes by a person's words, sometimes by his behavior. A person can say, oh, I really appreciate their actions. But one statement of ghibah will do it. One look will do it. One way of behaving with the other will show how this person feels about him or her. So whatever we keep in our hearts, remember that it will be exposed. We cannot hide it. Ibn Abbas, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed the Prophet ﷺ 70 names of the hypocrites. 70 of them. They were informed how? By their names. The Prophet ﷺ was informed about them by their names. And these names were actually mentioned in the Quran. They were a part of the Quran initially. But because the children of some of these people were sincere believers, like for example Abdullah ibn Ubay, his own son was a sincere believer, Allah abrogated those names from the Quran, so that it is not a source of embarrassment for their children. It would not be a source of embarrassment for them. Only one person is mentioned. Who? Abu Lahab. Abu Lahab is mentioned, right? By name. Other people are not mentioned by name. Hypocrites, they were mentioned by name initially, but Allah abrogated their names. Why? Because it would be a source of embarrassment for their children. And the Prophet ﷺ, he did not even disclose these names to everyone either. He only informed them to who? Hudayfa ibn Yaman, the secret keeper of the Prophet ﷺ. So what's the main lesson in this ayah for us? Two main lessons. That whatever we do, eventually it will come out. We can hide, we can lie, we can present excuses, we can cover, we can pretend nothing happened, but eventually it will come out. Secondly, knowledge and fear are not enough alone. They must drive a person to action. A person can know a lot, a person can fear a lot, but if it doesn't change him, then it's useless. وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ, and if you ask them, لَيَقُولُنَّ إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. If you ask them, the hypocrites, that did you say a statement like this? And if you did, why did you say like that? Why did you speak about the believers in this way? If you ask them, لَيَقُولُنَّ, surely they will definitely say, they will offer excuses, that إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. We were only conversing and playing. We were only chatting. We were only having some fun. That's why we said something like that. we didn't really mean it. We were only joking. Don't take it seriously. Sometimes people, they want to say something bad and say, please don't mind. However, you're saying something so offensive, and at the same time you're saying, don't mind? Why not? Of course the other person is going to mind. So this is what they say. We were only talking. We were only chatting. We were only conversing. And we were having some fun. Nakhudu is from the root letters kha wal dad, khawd. And khawd literally means to enter into water. To dive into water, to plunge into water. And when a person enters into water, for example, into a swimming pool, is he going to stay in one place, in one corner? Only if he's afraid, right? But generally, people like to go all around the pool. Every corner, every part. And once they're in, they don't want to come out. So this is what khawd is. That a person enters into a conversation. He delves into a conversation. And one topic leads to another topic, which leads to another topic, which leads to another one. A person starts from talking about how their mother is doing, and they end up talking about where they bought their shoes from. So one thing after the other. And this type of conversation, sometimes this is completely useless. It is purposeless. There is no reason, there is no justification for talking like that. There is no purpose, rather, for talking about those things. Or for talking in this manner. For talking for this long. There is no purpose. Like, for example, a person is talking to their friend on the phone. One thing leads to another, and you realize you've been talking to that person for over an hour. For over an hour. What were you talking about? Useless things. One thing led to the other, and there goes an entire hour of your life gone. So this is what they would say, that we were only talking. Why were they talking? To pass the time. Because the journey was long. The journey was tough. Instead of spending time reciting the Quran, doing dhikr, like the rest of the believers were doing, what were these people doing? Talking and chatting, gossiping. On the journey, the believers, what were they doing? Reciting the Quran. The hypocrites, they felt guilty. They knew they should be also doing something like that. Instead of reciting the Quran, what did they do? They began mocking at the believers. Look at these reciters of ours. Look at how they're reciting the Quran. Look how hungry people these are. How greedy these people are. إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ. We were just seeking entertainment to pass time. We were just talking. We were just chatting. وَنَلْعَبُ. And we were playing. We were just having some fun. Because the journey is so difficult. We thought, let's just have some fun. إِنَّمَا كُنَّا نَخُوضُ وَنَلْعَبُ. قُلْ, say to them, أَبِاللَّهِ. Is it that with Allah, وَآيَاتِهِ and His verses, وَرَسُولِهِ and His messenger, كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ, you were mocking at? Meaning, could you not find anything else to have fun with? Could you not find anything else to talk about? Could you not find anything else to laugh at? All you found was Allah, His messenger and His ayat? This is what you were mocking at? قُلْ أَبِاللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ وَرَسُولِهِ كُنْتُمْ تَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. Now, when the hypocrites, when they would mock at the Prophet ﷺ, at the believers, the people would come and inform the Prophet ﷺ about what the hypocrites were talking about. They would always come and tell him. Just as when people are talking about something, like for example, children, if they're talking about something, one of the siblings goes up to the parents and tells them, this is what she was saying, this is what he was saying. Right? So the Sahaba, they would also go to him and inform him. By the way, is this riba or is this wrong? It's not wrong. Why? We learned that gatherings are an amana. Is this khiyana? That they're going and telling the Prophet about what the people were talking about? How is it not khiyana? Because the purpose of informing is islah. And you notice the believers are not talking about this amongst themselves. Who are they going to? Directly to the Prophet ﷺ. And this is what we should do as well. That if somebody is talking about something that is inappropriate, instead of discussing amongst themselves, she said that and how bad, this is not a good thing that he was talking about, and she shouldn't have spoken in this way. Instead of talking amongst ourselves, what should we do? We should go to the person who can actually do something about it. Because then it would be for Islah. And if we're just talking amongst ourselves, then that's not for the purpose of Islah. That's just for the purpose of satisfying yourself. So when they would go and tell the Prophet ﷺ, he would always inquire, did you say this? And if you did, why? What would their response be? That they would not give a straight answer. They would not speak the truth. What would they do? They would present excuses, and they would try to prove their innocence. Again, instead of accepting their mistake, they would justify their wrong. Instead of accepting their mistake, what would they do? Justify their wrong. And over here, two excuses are mentioned. What are they? First of all, we were only talking. We were only chatting. There's nothing wrong with talking. There's nothing wrong with talking to your friends, talking to your family members, as long as conversations are meaningful, they're purposeful, they're beneficial. What do we learn from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? That whoever believes in Allah in the last day, then either he should speak that which is good or he should remain silent. Why? Because every word we utter, it is being recorded. And we might be questioned about it. What if Allah asks us about every word that we have said? Why did you say this? What was the reason? What was the objective? What was the purpose? We can be questioned about it. And our words as well, we learned earlier in Surah Al-A'raf, وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ, that even words, statements, they will be weighed in the mizan. They will be weighed. When someone said something incorrect with regards to another, and what did the Prophet ﷺ say? That the statement that you have said, if it's mixed in the ocean, it would make the entire ocean bitter. This is how terrible a statement you have uttered. So there is nothing wrong with talking as long as what we're talking about is useful, it is purposeful, and it is not sinful. But remember that when people talk too much, when we talk too much, then there is a high probability of saying something that is inappropriate, that is incorrect. Many times it happens. That we're just talking, and all of a sudden we're doing ghibah, then we're slandering someone, then we're uttering something that is completely false. Why? Because we're talking too much. Silence, or remaining silent, or talking only that which is purposeful, is much better, instead of talking just for the sake of talking. And sometimes if we look at it, the conversations that people have, what are they about? What are they about? Just analyze the conversations that we have with our friends, with our family members. She said this, she said that, she did that, she went there, he did that. It's about other people. Or it's about politics. Or it's about things, stuff. And which of these things or people are relevant to us? None of them. The Sahaba, the Prophet ﷺ, they would never sit and just discuss politics. They would never do that, wasting their time. Whenever they would talk, whenever they would discuss, it would be about something that was beneficial. They would plan to take action, not just talk and comment on what people were doing. So we have to be careful about our conversations, about what we talk about, because sometimes they could prove very dangerous for us. The second excuse that they present is that we were only having fun. Again, there is nothing wrong with having some fun. There is nothing wrong with that, as long as it is halal and it is done within limits. Not that a person is spending an entire day just having fun, or one joke after the other, laughing for hours, or watching comedy for over an hour. In Surah At-Tauba only we learn that فَلْيَضْحَكُوا قَلِيلًا وَلْيَبْكُوا كَثِيرًا. They should laugh less and they should cry more. How about watching comedies to laugh and laugh for hours? Whereas Allah says, فَلْيَضْحَكُوا قَلِيلًا وَلْيَبْكُوا كَثِيرًا. There is nothing wrong in having some fun. The Prophet ﷺ would also have fun. They would also have jokes. They would also smile and laugh. However, it was within limits. And it would not be done through sinful ways, through haram ways, through unlawful ways. And one important rule that we learn over here is that jokes cannot be made about Allah, His Messenger, and His ayat. You can joke about other things, but you cannot joke about Allah, His Messenger, and His ayat. What do His ayat include? His commands, the commands that Allah has given. Similarly, mocking at the Messenger, what does that include? Mocking at His Sunnah. For example, people making fun of the beard. People making fun of the way somebody has rolled up their pants, or the fact their ankles are showing. It's a subject of mockery today. This does not suit a believer. Would a person mock at his own mother? If you see someone mocking at their own mother, their own father, their own children, or themselves, what do you think of that person? He does not have any self-respect. He does not have any self-respect. Then if we cannot tolerate somebody mocking our mother, or the fact that somebody is mocking their own mother, how can we tolerate Allah, His Messenger, and His ayat being mocked at? A true believer can never tolerate such a thing. What do we learn from the hadith? That لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من ولده ووالده والناس أجمعين. None of you can be a true believer until I, meaning the Prophet ﷺ, becomes more beloved. Compared to who? His own children and his parents and all the rest of people. If we cannot tolerate somebody mocking at our mother, making fun of our mother, how can we tolerate somebody mocking at the Prophet ﷺ? If somebody says something negative about your mother and spreads it, how would you feel? How would you feel? Honestly, if somebody says something negative about your mother and spreads it, how would you feel? How would you feel? You want to take revenge. You want to do something to those people who dare to speak against your parents, who dare to speak against your children. If children are given a false or an incorrect report card, how offended parents get. They will go to school and they will shout at the teachers. They will create a chaos over there because they don't want their children to be disrespected, to be treated with injustice. Then how can we tolerate this for Allah, our Khaliq? How can we tolerate this for our Rasul, the one who guided us, the one who showed us the way, the one who taught us? How can we tolerate this for the ayat of Allah? We cannot if we really have Iman.